Listen to the coyotes. Hmm. When I shine the light over there, they stop. I put the phone down, they start again. Maybe they're done now. I noticed that though, they did that twice already before. Yeah, it's terrible. Oh. Anyway, I gotta wash my dishes. Oh, I hear them a bit starting again. Oh. This cold air isn't very good for the lungs, especially when your lungs are already scarred. Not a nice situation. I got confused about what day it is today, and I put the garbage out by the road early. I put the garbage out by the road today. It's supposed to be going out tomorrow, but that's okay. It's out there. Hopefully nothing will tear it apart. Oh my goodness. Okay. Let me see now. This is what we gotta do. It's quite cold in here. But anyway, yeah, it's a tough way to live, eh? This is a very tough way to live. Anyway, I know people have said go to the hospital and stuff, but I won't be treated there. I don't comply with their COVID mandates. And when my kidneys shut down that time, they were trying to force me to wear a mask, and I wouldn't. And they said that I had tried to commit attempted murder against everybody in the building by refusing to wear a mask. And I wasn't allowed back. The medical people in Canada are completely insane. Like, it's terrible. Anyway, like I say, then why shouldn't they be? Everything else here seems to be too, so it's consistent at least. There we go. Okay. They're consistent and they're along with everything else. Anyway, I had a nice bowl of soup, chicken noodle soup. I enjoyed that very much. Oh, yeah. Cooked it over the candle, like I do sometimes, in that little the can with the trivet on it and stuff. We'll put this lid back on here. These lids are kind of neat the way they work. You put it on here like this. You turn it around here. See, there's a rubber grommet in there. Line it up, and then you just push it down like that. Push this down like that. And, and there you go. That's locked up. Yeah. Anyway, I got to get to work on my dishes. And when I'm finished my dishes, then I can get into my bed with the hot water bottles. Possibly relax a bit. Yeah. Oh, what I was saying about the hospital. Yeah, I've been told that I committed attempted murder against everybody in the building. So if I go back there, I'm going to be arrested. That's what I was told. And, when I went in there, my kidneys had shut down. And the nurse in there told me that I had chosen death over compliance. Luckily for me, it was prayer that actually brought me back. A lot of people were praying for me. And I do believe that's what brought me back. Because my kidneys were completely shut down. It was scary. People who knew me and saw me at the time were convinced that I wasn't going to live. I was convinced I wasn't going to live. I was making goodbye messages. I was walking around in the field out here. It was in the summertime. I couldn't stay still because the pain would overwhelm me if I did. So I was just walking, constantly walking in the field until I'd pass out. I'd come in here and pass out. And then I'd get back up after an hour or two, basically being unconscious, and I'd just walk the field again, and that's what I did. And I did that for over a week. I turned all yellow, and I bloated up. I was in a lot of pain. Like I was in agony to the point where I could barely think straight. And I finally gave in and went to the hospital, even though hospitals terrify me because of being used as a guinea pig for drugs when I was 8 years old. And then when I was in my early 20s, when I had the pneumonia, and my doctor refused to treat it. And I was put through hell at that time too in the hospital. And I nearly died. Luckily, I found a doctor who would treat my pneumonia. But if not for that one doctor that actually would treat my pneumonia, I wouldn't be here now. Anyway, my lungs are scarred from that ordeal, and I developed an adult onset asthma because of it. Anyway, of course, that makes me more susceptible to having problems now. But yeah, I was, anyway, I've been through an awful ordeal with the medical profession. When I broke my arm back in 2000, I think it was 2004, when I broke my arm, or 5 or something, I don't know now, something like that. Fell on the ice and shattered my left arm. Had to have a plate put in it to hold it together. The plate is still in there. But I showed up at the emergency ward, and the nurse refused to believe me that I had a broken arm. And basically accused me of lying to her. And then she was trying to take my coat off. It was wintertime, you know. She's twisting my broken arm around behind my back, trying to take my coat off, and I was screaming bloody murder and telling her, like, if you need to take the coat, just cut the damn coat. I don't care, you know. And she says, oh, now don't be silly. Well, then they did actually bring an x-ray technician in, and they did an x-rays. And I was in the other room there, and when the x-rays were put up on the backlit thing, I heard the nurse exclaim, oh my God, he really did hurt himself. So, I mean, this is what I deal with medical people all the time, you know. I've had medical people warn me not to hurt them, even though I've never been violent with medical people. I've still had them tell me what all the wicked things that will happen to me if I hurt one of them, for some reason. I've never threatened a medical person, nor have I ever physically harmed a medical person, but I still get that warning anyway that I better not hurt them, you know. So Anyway, bottom line is, I really don't like medical people very much. I don't trust them. Even to go visit somebody else in the hospital. I mean, I can't even do that anymore because I'm not allowed to go into the hospital. But back when I was, if I had a friend that was in there as a patient or a relation and I went to visit them, I'd have to screw up all my courage to go in there because it was just like I'm really terrified of hospitals. You know. Anyway, and even more so after that experience with my kidneys shutting down and how nasty they were. And no, it turns out they don't have to treat you. See, the thing is, in the end, you have whatever rights you can pay for when you're dealing with doctors or the police or any government agency of any kind. You have whatever rights that you can pay for in court. If you can hire a really high-powered lawyer, then you have your rights. Otherwise, you have no rights. You know, you have rights on paper. Yes, I know on paper you do, but in practice you don't. And that's even why the police, a lot of the time, when they're looking to abuse somebody, they will target people driving beat-up cars. Because they figure if you're driving an old beat-up car, you probably don't have the resources to successfully fight them in court or whatever. So they can ride roughshod over you. And it's pretty bad anyway. My doctor back when I had the pneumonia and he wouldn't treat me was a guy by the name of James Tweedy. And man, was he ever a quack. He killed a lot of people. He's kind of known to be a butcher, really. I mean, he has that reputation. And one of the things he loved to do is to get women on tranquilizers and also get them drinking. He would tell them to drink alcohol and take tranquilizers. Like, the guy was a friggin' madman. You know, it was scary. He killed a lot of people. My stepmother's father was a guard in the Perth jail, a fellow by the name of Harry Foley. He was an Englishman, immigrant from England, you know, him and his wife Elsie. And anyway, my stepmother's father, he got sick. In around 1984, he got sick. He got quite sick. Now, I had already left home, but I was still in touch with my family and everything, and I was updated about things like that, so I knew about it. Anyway, he got really sick. And his doctor was Dr. Tweedy. Well, Dr. Tweedy told him that he just was suffering from a mental illness, and he just needed to take antidepressants, and he'd be fine. So Dr. Tweedy prescribed them antidepressants, and of course Harry Foley was an Englishman, and he was an older Englishman back in the early to mid 80s. So he was very much conditioned to obey authority and to just trust authority. if basically the doctor or the policeman or anybody else in authority is always right. That's what it was. And so he took the antidepressants. In the meantime, he just kept going downhill. Wasn't getting any better. After a year of that, Tweedy finally conceded, because at that point the poor man was really in bad shape. So Tweedy finally conceded that it might be cancer. So Dr. Tweedy sent Harry Foley. In 1985, he sent Harry Foley to an oncologist in Ottawa. And the oncologist ran some tests, and then he and Harry and Elsie had a meeting in his office. And what he told Harry was, he said, "You should have been here a year ago. If you'd come here a year ago, I could have helped you." And Harry said, "I was complaining to my doctor a year ago, and he was treating me for depression." That oncologist, to his credit, actually called Dr. Tweedy's office and ripped a strip off him. And told him, he said, through your incompetence, you have killed this man. You know. Anyway, he's gone now himself. He lived to be 85 years old and worked as a doctor up to about 6 months before he died. He had cancer, and he died from cancer. But oh man, what a character. It's funny too, his eyes, they talk about lizard people and whatnot. I really don't know what to make of that. I think that might be a little much. But it's possible. I believe anything is possible. But Dr. Tweedy's eyes look like lizard eyes. Like, he had just the dark slit down the center of the white, That's what his eyes look like. And if he was doing a procedure on you and he hurt you, he liked that. Like, if he made you wince or cry out or anything, you could tell he liked it. I remember one time he was pulling stitches out of my finger because I gotten a bad cut on my finger, and I had it all stitched back together at the hospital. And they told me to go to your doctor, after a week or 2 weeks or whatever it was, and have them removed. So I did. I went to Dr. Tweedy and had him pull them out. Of course, Dr. Tweedy gave me shit. He said, you could have pulled these out yourself. And I said, well, I was told to come here to do it. So that's what I'm doing. Anyway, he was pretty rough. And he at one point, he got cutting and yanking on the stitches. And he actually did hurt me. And I winced. And when I did that, he got this grin on his face. And he just looked really satisfied. It was a creepy kind of a thing. Like he knew he hurt me. And it gave him pleasure. It was just... Yeah. Anyway, these are the people I've dealt with in the medical field anyway. And this is why I don't like to go to the medical field. Now, to be fair, like I say, that nurse in the hospital was a bitch. That when I broke my arm and she didn't believe me, she was a real bitch. But the orthopedic surgeon who did the surgery was actually a very nice man. He's a man, but he was actually a South African man. Yeah, Dr. Anderson is his name. He may very well be retired by now, but anyway, awful nice man though, and a really good doctor. He did an excellent job on my arm. So that was actually kind of a good experience. And of course, the doctor that I got to treat my pneumonia was a doctor by the name of Dr. Jackson. He was just a young doctor too. And he treated my pneumonia and everything, and he was really kind to me. But then he gave up his practice, and he had a brain tumor, and he died. He was only like around 40 years old when he died. But he was a really, really good doctor. Anyway, so I have had the odd good experience, but it's like for every good experience I've had a dozen bad, really, not even just bad, but horrific experiences, If you want to know a little more about what happened to me when I was 8 years old in Toronto, I do have some videos on this channel about that, but it's going back quite a way. Of course, when I was in the reformatory, when I was 14, 15 years old, got labeled incorrigible and sent away to reform school, basically to a jail for teenagers. The doctor, you'd have to go see the doctor when they did like the intake procedure, and you'd have to get a physical. They had a doctor that would do that right on the premises, had an office and whatnot. But that doctor would never help you. That doctor would never help you. If you were sick, you'd never get to see him. If you were injured, you'd never get to see him. But say if a guard were to hurt you, which did happen frequently in that place, That doctor was the one that would write up the false report, in order to cover the guard's ass. And I remember him being a really ignorant, nasty man anyway. I didn't like him. you know. Anyway, like I say, that's been most of my experience with the medical profession hasn't been good. And plus, on top of that, right now in Canada, with homeless people and others like myself and others, they're trying to pressure us to do government-assisted suicide. Now, that's the latest thing. and I actually wouldn't. I'd be concerned that they might even murder me. If they let me into the hospital, which I don't believe they would, I'd be concerned that they might murder me in there, So, anyway, it's just not it's not good or safe to be going to a hospital in this country. That's how. Not that it's a good and safe thing what I'm doing, but I mean, I at least don't want to be under the thumb of people who have abused me in the past. If I'm going to die, I'll die here. But I really don't think this thing's going to kill me. I mean, I'll tell you, I feel like death warmed over, as we used to say, but I don't think this thing's going to kill me, even though I'm damn sick. As long as it doesn't go to pneumonia, it'll be fine. That's the big thing. It's going to be a challenge in these conditions. Look at the frost, eh? It's going to be a challenge in these conditions to keep it from doing that. But that's what I'm trying to do right now. Anyway, I got to wash my dishes. So that was just an explanation about why I've taken the stand I've taken when it comes to medical people and hospitals and whatnot. And I will not go to the hospital. It's not an option. It's not an option for me, and it's not an option for them either. They will not treat me. So it's not an option anyway. In fact, I'd be liable to end up in jail if I showed up at the hospital. So, yeah, I'm just going to stay here and nurse myself. That's all. All right, we'll talk to y'all later. Here's Rocky. We'll end with Rocky because Rocky's nicer looking than the dirty dishes. Bye for now.